Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. This is John with Tommy's Top Picks here to bring you your weekly flesh and blood market update. So, this week is a bit of a mixed week, as you can see from the heat map. We have some up, we have some down. It's pretty wild, I have to say. Quick shout out, we're changing things up a little bit. If you like the card discussion type things, let me know in the comments below. We are moving that to Tuesday. Tommy and I will go through a few cards, discuss what we think, discuss what we're seeing in the market. It's been a crazy market, and it's too hard to cover in this, as well as the charts, as well as everything else. You may or may not have noticed I cut a lot of the economic talk out of this because of the amount of time it took to do all the different things. So I think by splitting it up like that, it will be good. But let me know if you think that sucks and I should change it back, or you think Tommy's awesome and he should do all the market updates forever. You let him know with the hashtag Tommy does the updates. And you can always just, pull his leg. That's fine too. All right, let's get into it. All right, ARC is down 6.56 to 114 from 122. Now, this is the unlimited box. Not too surprising. That 122 was pretty heated. I'm surprised it actually isn't red. I'm guessing it was just under by a little bit. I'll have to double check that math, but I'm pretty sure it was. But yeah, 114 coming down from its previous peak of 122, which we all saw was insane. It was a little too fast, a little too high, a little too fast. And guess what's doing that now? Crew. I am shocked by Crew Unlimited hitting 124 this fast, with WTR not even hitting 100 yet. That I did not see coming. It just speaks to how heated this market is. Certain things are being speculated on. There's a lot of stuff starting to run out. I know these print runs were pretty high, the unlimited and that. Although, if I recall correctly, it wasn't. Does anyone out there know this? Crew was the one where they weren't going to do an unlimited, and there was so much demand for it that they decided to do it anyways. Big question mark. I'm not sure how many prints of boxes or print run, how big that print run was. But anyways, it's up 11.71% to 124. Insane. I do suspect we'll see similar to what we saw with ARC, where it will cool off and come back down. But I'm guessing the supplemental sets are starting to click with people. There's enough classes now. There's enough support for some of the classes in the older sets that Crew didn't have all of the classes in them, but it's starting to see like, oh, every card has its day sort of situation. The market's realizing the value of holding on to older things. I'm guessing that's what's happening here, and there's just some heat in there, which would not surprise me at all. Some Azalea cards, etc. I mean, we're going back to the old heroes and outsiders, so of course these old supplemental sets will have something in there that's probably useful for CC. All right, moving on. ARC Unlimited cases up 4.83% to 499, and that is just under the 5% mark for the heat map, but we did bold it for honorable mention. We'll see how that goes, but it just matches with what was happening with the cases before. That's still crazy. $500 case of ARC Unlimited, and your Mon cases are $444? First edition? What? That doesn't make quite so much sense to me. I know Mon was printed a lot, but I'm pretty sure ARC Unlimited was too. So, yeah, let me know what you think about that, especially with Dust Till Dawn coming up. Those Mon boxes are going to be worth something at some point when that happens. I do think we will see a slight variation on the heroes. It's just a guess, just the hints that we're seeing in the cards, the Soraya, the Luminous, that was the legendary for Bolton. I have a sense we will see Bolton back, and that was a hint card that he's going to get some combo support in this next set. I have a feeling that we will see Prism back, and I'm guessing she'll be more like Dromai and will control ally angels as opposed to her prismatic aura things. It's a guess, total guess, but Soraya kind of hints at that, right? So I think those are two hints that we have coming our direction, showing us a little bit of what's the flavor going forward for them. You could even say like an OTK style, maybe in Chain's future, based on some of the cards that we just saw. I don't know. I don't know Viserai and Chain well enough to say, the cards are hinting that direction, but it does feel like there's a lot of rune chant creation out there, and so doing an OTK style or a rune chant based build would make a lot of sense. We'll see. We'll see how it goes when Dust Till Dawn comes out. Very excited about that set. Clearly the whole market is, but that seems like that would be a good investment for me. No financial advice here, but Mon versus Arc at 500 Unlimited, first edition cold foils, and extended arts, and some stuff that's actually pretty valuable in there. Arc question marks on how many things are super valuable. Although I will say the first 3 set rainbow foils, they're just gone. They're like gone. Everything is gone. First 3 sets in unlimited rainbow foils. I was looking at the market the other day. Someone gave a hint and said, look at the M rainbow foils. We looked. They're all gone. Like, this cheapest one is like $25. They just don't exist anymore. Yeah, everything's sold out, and I will talk about that in a second. There's another buyout in ARC itself that's worth talking about. But let's move on. Mon Unlimited is down 10%. That's not surprising. We saw the spike up. We saw a down, an up, a down. So let's try it. Up, down, and then maybe up next week. We'll see. A lot of volatility under Mon. Clearly, the speculation around Dusk Till Dawn is causing people to get a little crazy. Take a chill pill. Look for the good opportunities, and buy in with what you want and how you want it and the things that you like. That's how I look at it. Anyways, moving on. First edition, 8.09% up. Sorry, for first edition WTR boxes. This is a real price increase, I would assume. I think this was kind of BS. I'll double check, but I think this is a kind of BS price that never actually closed and was pulled off the market, or like someone bought it and then it dropped off the sale because da-da-da-da. So I'm guessing this is pretty flat, actually, all things given, all things taken into consideration. And again, these prices are a little bit out of band for what you see on the selling pages, the Facebook marketplaces, etc. ARC first edition up 16.97%. Only thing I can guess is that it's following along with what's happening here. Not a crazy range, because we've seen this one before. It looks like someone just placed lower and then it came back up. So these might actually all three be kind of fake numbers. So we're just kind of seeing a flat line. We'll look at the charts, but I imagine this isn't very much worth commenting on. Crew is up 19.82% to 538. That is a high. It's a very large local high. It might even be an all-time. Well, no, it wouldn't be all-time, because way back in the day, things were crazy. Let's just look. Yeah, they were like $7.50 a box way back when I first started. That's crazy to think about. Those days were insane, coming off the high of Mon. But yeah, so Crew is up 20%. It's a good box to have. Again, supplemental sets, I think, are finally getting understood as a overvalued product instead of an undervalued product. I understand you can't draft them, but I think the fact that cards come around again and again and again is starting to make more and more sense for people in the marketplace. Anyways, moving on. Mon 4.81% for first edition box, up to 109. Still find that strange. Yeah, Mon first is cheaper than ARC and Crew Unlimited. I don't know. I wish I knew the numbers off the top of my head. I will have to research that. If you know the numbers, or you can look them up for me, drop it in the comments below. Do we have a print run on Mon first? Do we have a print run on Crew and ARC Unlimited? Let me know the numbers, but I can't imagine this is that much higher than this. I guess they're pretty close in price, so maybe they're similar print runs. That could be. I could see that. If that's true, let me know in the comments below. All right, moving on down to first edition cases. Not a lot to look at here. These ones are sold out, so there's nothing there. 10% down on Tales of Aria, but Tales of Aria is our favorite red. We won't say that. That's rude. Strange child of weirdness that just goes all over the place. It is just madness. Dynasty is up 7.84%. I think this is not even map. So I'm not sure why these are this low. I don't think they're allowed to be that low. Pretty sure they're both under the same map at 352, 57, something like that. 51. That's what it is. 51.99 or something like that. 351.99. That's map, and these are both below map right now, which is weird. So pick up discounted boxes. I'm guessing it's just stores trying to clear inventory space. It's just what it is. Moving on to Outsiders, it has popped up again, so I'm surprised we have yet to see map except for the first listings. So real live market, close to real live market, no map yet. I really do expect post release we will see a map drop off. Some crazy stuff we're seeing with these box pools. So I've looked at a lot of stats. Min-Max opened 500 boxes, Fluke opened like 200 over a couple days, maybe 300, something like that. And amongst them, there are different print runs. There's Japanese and Belgium. Japanese are in plastic packs. Belgium are in paper packs. That's how you'll be able to tell the difference once you get them. I think U.S. is getting Belgium. Over in New Zealand area is getting the plastic. I'm not sure about Europe and where that's going. Probably Belgium, right? But if you think about it, or if you look at the numbers, some crazy, crazy things. Codexes are super rare, ridiculously rare. I wish I had the number in front of me, but it's like 928 or 960 packs per. And this, of course, is a sample size of 500, so very small when you're talking about a rare thing. We don't know. It may be less, it may be more. But point being that the codexes in Marvel format are really rare. The extended art cold foils are even more rare. Sorry, I had to cough there. And those two things right now, I've seen several sell in the seller's marketplace for cheaper than they probably should. I don't think these are $200 Marvels. I think they're going to be more. Maybe not originally, like when the market gets flooded, it's flooded. But I don't think they're going to last as a supply very long. I think they will shoot up to kind of Soraya prices pretty quick. Could be wrong. Maybe this is a bigger print run than the past. We have seen massive growth in the game, so it wouldn't shock me or upset me if LSS put more into the market this time around than they did the last time, as long as they don't go crazy and over the top like they did with Mon. That said, they're gorgeous. I've seen the cold foils, not in person, but with really sharp camera pictures at live. So they have a beautiful, like very fine etching and even red foiling on the Blood Rot was the one that was in particular Fluke was showing in particular. It looks fantastic. Like, I am excited about those. You guys know I'm a tome nerd. I've collected every tome. I have a bunch of rainbow foils, non-foils, first editions of every single tome in the game. I've talked about it many, many times. I've been collecting tomes since Tales of Aria. In fact, the card that got me into the game was Tome of Harvest. Mark Poole, love his art. That's why I got into the game, or one of the big reasons I got into the game. And so yes, I'm a tome nerd. I cannot wait. I will be buying all of the codexes probably pretty quickly, even though it's probably not the smart move and you can get a lower price. These are shelf items. They're my thing. You know what I mean? Some people are like dragons. Me, I'm like the books. Give me the books. You know what's interesting though? There's no tome in this set. And these codexes, though they kind of sit as the tome, they don't draw a card in the same way as tomes of the past. All tomes draw a card. There's no card draw like tome in this set. This is the first set out of all the sets. There's no book. There's codexes. There's no tome. There's no draw card. It's crazy. The last set had 2. What is going on here? It makes me a little nuts, but I do love the special art treatment, and I do love how, I mean, if you think about it, if you're in the seedy underbelly of metrics, assassins and thieves guilds and all the rest, a codex that has like formula for toxins and stuff on it makes a lot more sense than like a wizard's tome, right? There's no highfalutin scholarly society down here. We go with codexes on the street. I love it. I cannot wait. I am definitely putting all 3 on my shelf, and I will be very happy to display them, even if I pay too much for them. So one thing I want to point out, Arcanite Skullcap, and we're going to jump up here and show you in a second. This is crazy buyout. Sorry, I coughed again. Trying not to cough in your ear. Yeah, look at this. On the 11th, I missed this. 11th and the 12th. Look how many got bought. And it was from all the way down at this $59 price range. I have no idea why this is happening because I don't see this card as particularly in meta. Other than it was just too dang cheap. And people are buying out whatever they can that's just too dang cheap. So keep that in mind. If there's a legendary you think is interesting, I think one that's probably worth looking at if you're looking at the affordable side of thing is the Emperor. Another one is that Bolton card, because like I said, I think they're hinting at Dusk Till Dawn having that. That Bolton Legendary was going for like nothing the other day, so it's worth noting, worth paying attention to. If you see any other things in the market that are being missed, people are just like sleeping on it, let me know. I will definitely call you out. Like I said, that last call out was from someone else saying, check out the rainbow foils for the first set. That was crazy. The alpha rainbow foils are all gone for Majestics. We were talking about up to $25 plus, which is nutty. All right, let's move on. WTR Unlimited, not a whole lot to talk about here, just kind of staying in parity, premiums intact. Let's go with ARC Unlimited. Yeah, look at that jump. Craziness, going insane. We'll see if it just goes to the moon. Premium is super intact. Box prices are actually pretty low right now by comparison, which is nuts. That means the box prices should be somewhere around the 120, 130 range for that case price to hold up. So maybe the boxes lead the cases, and this comes back down since the boxes did lead the cases here. So maybe the case prices will curl over and come back down. We'll see. I'm guessing about 2 weeks for that to happen. A little slower reaction on the cases. Crew, we're looking at this. Premium is no longer here. We do have an ARB opportunity. Let's see if I can get to show of $14. That's actually not bad at all by case crack itself. Yeah, that's not bad at all if the prices hold up. In fact, I may take advantage of that personally. That's pretty cool. Mon, let's see. Oh, speaking of taking advantage of cards and shops and selling things, I do want to point out there is a link below that goes to our TCG player account. I want to say a big thank you to all the people who have heard us say and talk about this and have jumped on it. Our shop went from very quiet and not many sales to like a lot of sales every day. So I'm guessing us calling it out had led to a trigger effect and people are sharing the link or whatever. Really appreciate that. If you're doing that, if you check out our shop, feel free to leave a comment if there's something you want. We can probably get a hold of it. We do have wholesaler access now for a lot of things. So we're getting spun up. There's still a lot of work to do, but we are, we're getting there. So we don't have too much listed. We do have mostly singles listed, but Tommy and I are both actively working on it on a day-to-day basis, and we really appreciate all the support. So if you buy from us, it does support the channel. The profits go back into the company that is all focused around the channel, and that's what we're doing here. So anyways, just shout that out because after we called it out last time, like the shop just blew up and it was awesome. So really appreciate that for those of you out there who jumped in the shop and bought some stuff. All right, anyways, moving on. Where we're at? Oh yeah, Monarch. Yeah, so yeah, we got a premium, $4. Not a big ARB opportunity, but interesting to see. I actually kind of like this curve. This is that plateau curve that we like to see, right? That's the nice thing right there on the box. That's what you look for. This case, on the other hand, is just out of its mind. I don't know what's happening with the cases. I'm guessing it's a distributor to shop pipeline issue. That's the only thing I can think of. The boxes are playing stable though. So there's plenty of boxes sitting in back rooms. It's just people can't refill their back rooms, I'm guessing. I don't know. Wild. Tales of Aria fell off a cliff like we said. I believe this one's under map 2. This is unlimited, so it's lower map. Yep, still intact. All right, let's move on to first edition, which is mostly more interesting. WTR and ARC, not interesting. Move on to crew. Crew, yeah, step. This is the step function. A lot faster than you usually see it, but this is what I'm talking about. That's the step function. So this is a good sign that the market is starting to realize the value of this product, and we're starting to see it move up stepwise as supply runs out. And then usually it plateaus for longer, like months, and then it will hit the next step. But obviously this is kind of playing catch up, I'll be honest, because this price got way too low, and that's just how it went with the cases. They everyone hated expensive sealed product, and this was one of them that was hyped. Like I said, the individual boxes are like 700 to 1,000 a piece. I think that at one point they were even up to 2,000. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure at one point the crew individual boxes were 2,000. Now you can get like a case for that. So point being, it took a long time for the air to come out of that insanely overheated market. And when it did, everyone hated the product for a long time, which means it just sits flat at the bottom for a very, very long time. That's your accumulation phase. We've talked about this in the past. And it pops up when the supply starts to run out, which we have to be hitting that stage pretty quickly now because it's been out for so long and it has cards that are useful. And it is a product that people love. It is the favorite of a lot of people. So point being, it looks like we're seeing that accelerated pace of these stepwise functions that we get here. All right, moving on. We do have a premium. It's slate and barely intact. The boxes seem to be catching up to the cases. Nothing too crazy on that one. Monarch. Yeah, it's just moving up and to the right. It's crazy. I still think it's probably undervalued based on first edition versus the Arc Unlimited and Crew Unlimited. This is a first edition product with actual cold foils in it, extended arts, etc. And some of those cards are very valuable, and they will be more valuable, I'm guessing, once Dusk Till Dawn comes out. Tales of Aria is just insane. God, why is this so insane? It's erratic. It's just erratic. I got nothing. I got nothing for you. I never will until it calms down. It's just wild. All right. Everfest is much more sane, even though it's a similar, like, crazy level print run. We did have this crazy dip thing. I'm not sure what that was about, but you can pretty much ignore that as noise in the market. This is what it's supposed to be. Stepwise, stepwise. Here we go. And premium's still intact. Moving on. Uprising. All right. Dropped off a cliff, way under map. I guess that's because it's one of the later products. Excuse me. One of the recent products that was a draft set. Now we have a new draft set coming, so get it off the shelf, says all the shop. And so they sell it at a discount just to get it off the shelf, which makes sense. This does provide a wee bit of a premium, $7 back there, and it's shrinking. I mean, sorry, not a premium, ARB opportunity, shrinking down to $3. Not really worth taking advantage of unless you got it cheaper. Pretty interesting product. You're definitely not going to be able to buy it from distro and sell it at a reasonable price anytime soon because every shop is trying to dump it. All right, Dynasty. This was running smoothly until it hit this craziness. Let's see about the box versus case. So the box prices, they kind of ran smooth. They're pretty much just hanging at map, right? I mean, we're talking a couple dollar variance here. The cases, on the other hand, dropped all the way down to $80. Yeah, $5 ARB is nothing to write home about, but it is interesting that the case price is discounted so much. Maybe there's a little too much supply in the market as the new set's coming out last week, so everyone's like, I need shelf space, and there's just a little bit too much supply. Curious. I wonder if any of the Dynasty cards are reflecting that. That's something Tommy and I will go over next week. Now, quickly, if you want, you can jump off right now. This is the end of the market update. I'm going to talk a little bit about what's been going on with Silicon Valley Bank and the reactions of the economy to all of that stuff. There was a potential contagion that popped up, and we saw Credit Suisse suddenly got in real trouble and had liquidity issues as well. There's a bit of a bail-in. I think it was the bond holders took a haircut on their bonds for that company, the company bonds, and as a result, it supplied liquidity for the company and saved it from going bankrupt, which would have spread to a bunch of other banks. Now, last I heard, and this was 3-4 days ago, there were about 146 banks that were at risk at this point of some sort of exposure to that same bond market that SVB had an issue with. And I can explain that very quickly. Essentially what happened, SVB bought a bunch of bonds, long-term, I think 10-year, that essentially were at low rates at the very bottom. Rates went up to sell a bond that has an undervalued maturity. You basically have to take a haircut because no one wants a bond that's going to give you less than the bond you can buy right now from the Fed, right? There's just no point. And so that time value money situation, everyone does the calculation and they look at it and say, yeah, this isn't really worth the dollar face value that it says it is. If you give me 10% off, 20% off, 30% off, depending on how far off it is, then I'll buy it from you. So when you have a bunch of capital stuck in a bond that is now undervalued versus the regular market, to sell them early, which is something that happens all the time. People sell bonds early all the time. You not only get the penalty, but you also get a haircut because you're selling something that people don't really want. There's low demand for it. And so when that happens, it turns your, say it's $1,000, right? It turns your $1,000 into $900, $800, $700, again, depending on the variance of what the rate was of your bond versus the current bond market. And so what happened was they had issues, and this is the part that stinks. This is a space I work in, so I've had face-to-face reactions of all this. So economy got shaky, interest rates go up, tech companies laid off, scares tech companies and tech investors. AI comes out, ChatGPT, which I don't know if you guys have seen, but it's amazing. Your Mid Journeys. all these AIs are starting to disrupt different spaces, including writing code. So now people are like, maybe we have too many employees, right? And that's the tech companies start dumping people. I think Elon Musk actually started it when he took over Twitter, and that for him, he was just trying to like get a sense of the books and all that stuff. There's a lot of things I don't like about him. I don't think his cleaning house upon taking over a company was a bad move. It's what most CEOs do when they take over a company. That's just business. I don't see that as negative or positive. But point being that happened, and I think all the other tech companies started looking around and saying, maybe we have too many staff too. And there's been more than one story of these staff that were being paid 150, 160,000 a year to do nothing. And what was happening is all the tech companies were in such a long-term competitive state for employees, workers that could do tech work, that they they basically hired over much, right? So they hired 20% more than they needed. And I think it ended up being more like 50% or something. I don't know. Excuse me. They hired over what they needed. And so all of these extra staff members were essentially waiting around for something to do and had nothing to do. And to their credit, many of them fought for work, and there was nothing to work on because these companies were over hiring specifically to keep the talent out of their competitors' hands and to make sure that they had it as they grew. Because when you grow, you can end up growing so fast that it's hard to hire, so you hire ahead of your growth. Well, when things slow down, when you get a rocky economy, when COVID opens back up and people aren't on the internet as much, right? They go outside and touch some grass. It changes the dynamic. They realize their stock value is going to go down. They realize they have too much headcount. Labor costs are the highest cost. They start cutting these costs. That shakes the market. You have the Fed rate increasing, inflation, and all the other shakiness in the market. And what it does is this ripple effect where VCs slow their investing, slow their capital raise. LPs, who basically put the money into VC accounts, stop investing in funds because they're nervous. They're like, wait, which assets are going to be good? I don't know if these risk on assets, because anything in startup world is like super high risk on. So you have equities, which you can consider like, 10% gain, 7 to 10% gain a year. If you're doing VC, you want 20 plus gain a year on that asset. Otherwise, it's not really worth it, and you should be in something else. That's just the thing. But with each gain percentage increases risk, right? So you have a high chance of losing the money the higher the gain possibility is. So that's why you diversify and do small portions of your assets that way. Well, anyways, wealthy individuals, LPs that would normally invest in these funds, stopped investing in these funds. Excuse me again. Saw these unicorns as risky. IPOs slowed down. All this stuff started to ripple through the market. What that means is SVB, which was primarily a bank for these VC-backed companies, saw their bank accounts shrinking because people were drawing capital and funds weren't flowing in from new fundraisers because everyone was, stopping their fund raising. Because it didn't make sense. You'd had down rounds and all this other stuff. So when that combined with the bond situation that I just described, the fact that they were going to take a haircut on that big capital that they were just sitting kind of their back, it's like their backup, we'll call it, of cash. It's in this long-term bond. It should mature at a reasonable, safe rate, safe, etc. If you can keep it there for 10 years, it's not safe if you have to draw on it. Well, they had to draw on it because their actual funds were disappearing. And then, it got nutty. What's his name? Peter Thiel. He's a character. Not a fan personally. Some of the stories I've heard about him and stuff he's done in the world is not great. But anyways, he sent a memo out to everyone that was in his fund, withdraw your money from SVB immediately. This started a run because that, everyone's on a different Discord or whatever together. They're chatting. Went across multiple funds. They pulled out money. I think Peter Thiel pulled out something like $1 billion or $2 billion first before anything was even known. And then it triggered the run, which I think in the first day or two, like 10 to 40 billion was pulled out, something like that, first couple days. And so when you add the shrinking deposits, the inability to sell bonds at fair price or at purchase price, so you're taking a discount on that, and then a run, like a bunch of deposits being pulled out immediately, well, that collapses a bank. And this is, I think, the 11th biggest bank in the country or something like that. Craziness. Anyways, So that's what happened. It creates this very high risk situation where if someone else has a similar exposure and a similar depository risk, it can ripple the market. A lot of equity people get afraid, they pull it out of the stock, and that affects borrowing capability of banks. And you see there's a lot of different implications when fear hits the market. And a lot of it's nonsense, it's just panic. But some of it's very real, real money, real situations. I will say this is my favorite bailout of all the bailouts. I can't say that I'm a huge fan of bailouts generally speaking, but if you're going to do it, I think this is probably the way to do it. Shareholders who are supposed to be at risk took the hit. It really stinks for the employees of SVB who had stock options because they had the least to do with this problem and are getting punished for it, but this is how it goes. The depositors all ended up getting their money, I think all of it, and this is one of those things that's contentious. A lot of people think Silicon Valley Bank, because of the name, is only Silicon Valley. It's not. It's nationwide. I'm in Philadelphia, as you guys know, and I had a ton of companies that use SVB. It's just a startup bank, and so if you think of startups, that's 3 people, 10 people, 20 people, 50 people, doing their best, basically, usually taking low salaries. At risk of losing everything, put their blood, sweat, and tears into something they believe in to build the next cool thing, next tech product, next whatever. And, some of them are really impact companies trying to save the world sort of stuff. And they all lost their deposits, which means that's payroll next week, right? And it was literally like the next Wednesday. So it was a real struggle. And so if they hadn't shored that up, you would have seen people laid off all over the country or unable to pay their own bills. And this is just individuals, and they're not overpaid. This isn't your, Facebook employees, right? Facebook's not affected by this. Little companies are affected by this. Although I will say Roku had a massive amount of capital in there, which I was surprised about because of how big they are. But it was only like 25% of their total bank account. So you see what I mean? You're affecting mostly the smaller companies with a few employees that are really trying to do something to help or change the world or whatever, chasing the dream. And you're not impacting, wealthy investors. They are not the ones that got hurt by the bank collapsing or would have gotten hurt. So this bailout saved the individuals who, fight for their paycheck and work their asses off for their little companies to succeed and thrive. And they were saved by the Fed. Shareholders of SVB took the ultimate punch, which I think they should have. Sucks for the people that worked for SVB. If you had options, that does suck. You're least responsible and taking a lot of hit for it. The VCs never got hit because their money's not in SVB, and the only thing that got hit as a potential was the risk of their own companies. But frankly, they mostly backstopped their companies, from what I'm understanding. A lot of VCs stepped up and said, here's a loan to cover it. And then when the Fed stepped up, the loans weren't necessary anymore. So I suppose they were saved from funding their companies more, but they would have done it anyways. It would have had minimal impact. So anyways, that is what that is. I hope you guys understood that. I hope that was fun and interesting to learn about. Very close to my heart. It's one of the reasons the previous few weeks have been rushed, because I have been dealing with this as a direct impact to me and my job. Everything's fine on this front now. We've cleared the storm, and we will see if this contagion spreads. Credit Suisse was a definite risk. I think that's over now. There's a couple more that are on watch list, but I think we're primarily through the risk factor. So, like I said, probably my favorite bailout of all time. No bailout is great. Responsible behavior is better. And I will say, shame on SVB. They lobbied in 2016, and it was signed by Trump in 2018, a reduction in the safeguards on banks of their size. They moved up the limit to like 250 billion from 50 billion or something like that. I can't remember. And so what it ended up doing was they didn't have as many checks in place to make sure that they were safe against these stress tests. That said, I'm not sure, and I did talk to some bankers about this. I'm not sure the stress tests, had it been in place, would have caught this because of the nature of the structure that caused the issue. So that said, they were still trying to do less and be less safe, and that seems silly, especially when you end up collapsing just a few years later because you weren't safe enough. Diversification, it's the key. We talk about it here all the time. That bank was fully deposited in startups, had almost no diversification except for some bonds. Even bonds can be a problem, right? Diversify. That's the best way to go, whether you're a bank or an individual. And we talk about it here all the time, and I hope you guys take that to heart. Anyways, that's it for now. Leave a comment below. If you like the economic talk, we'll keep doing it. I know some people have asked for it, and I've been lax in it because I've had a lot of things going on, and frankly, didn't have too much to talk about. But this one was real close to me, so I'll keep talking about it. If you have topics or ideas on things within economics that you'd like me to talk about, feel free to leave a comment about that too. Anyways, until next time, I hope you guys have a good one.